The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch UK Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. You're listening to Paranormal Concept right here on Parasearch UK Radio with your host, Paul Brook.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Paranormal Concept show. We apologise for being a bit late. We've had a few gremlins out tonight. I think it had something to do with the orange sun yesterday. But they're out in force today, and, well, we managed to sort it all out and get it sorted, so blinding. I'm joined tonight by Kerry Greenaway. That's the one.
Yep, that's me.
That's because I've been talking to another Kerry this week. That's what it is.
Oh, I've confused you.
Get confused. Well, it doesn't take much. Tonight's show, we are going to be discussing paranormal events abroad. So for this show, I thought we'd bring on a very good friend of mine, Paul Stevenson.
Hello
Paul.
there, how you doing?
Oh, not too bad. How are you?
Well, gremlins, like you said, tonight it's been a nightmare.
I know.
Yeah, I blame the orange sun. Did you see the sun? Wasn't it weird yesterday?
It was, and apparently it was a storm in the Sahara or something that.
Oh, I thought it was
blew up.
I thought it was Fanta. I thought it was Fanta doing some kind of Halloween marketing publicity.
Well, that very could have been. Could have been, but you never know. I mean, people were going mad over that, weren't they? They were like.
I saw it trending on Twitter like red dust or something like that, or Sahara sun, something like that. So it's all good.
It was quite strange. I mean, I do remember quite a few years ago, everyone woke up in the morning and the cars were covered in sand. And it's the same thing, but this time we just had it in the daytime as opposed to night. Yeah, and everyone's like, oh, what strange. It was quite eerie, I must admit.
It was a little. I actually got into a bit of a Barney over that one because everyone was going, that's the sun. I was going, no, it's the moon. They were going, no, it's the sun. I was like, no, it can't be. You can see it. You can actually look at it, so it must be the moon. Anyway, I was wrong, obviously.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. I mean, to have that argument at 2 o'clock in the afternoon is a bit silly, wasn't it, really?
Well, you can always see the moon in the day sometimes as well. And I was wrong 3 times yesterday. Can you believe it?
No.
Something's definitely out with the universe.
A woman wrong, never.
And the last bit is, I had to admit it. That was the worst bit about it.
Oh, terrible stuff.
It's horrendous.
And now you've done it on air. Blinding.
Well, so, it's good to throw it out there occasionally.
Everyone, you've heard it here first. Sometimes women are wrong.
No, one day out of my whole life, I've been wrong 3 times. In just one day. That's it. Yeah. Other than that, I've never been wrong.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, moving on. We're going to be discussing paranormal events abroad. Now, in the past, I know there's been issues with some companies taking people abroad and not delivering on what they've claimed that they were going to do. So I just thought maybe we could just have a chat and sort of see how people could avoid that if possible.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's plenty of locations in this country that there's so many groups now that they're all fighting for the sort of like one-upmanship on who's the best company, and I guess the next step to make your company bigger and better is to do locations abroad, because look how tiny we are in terms of a nation, and look how big the world is. And although we've got thousands of locations in the UK, there are some cracking, amazing locations that I'm sure the public would love to attend.
Yeah. I mean, I do know there is one particular company that claims that they're taking people abroad to, is it Chernobyl?
Chernobyl, yeah, in Russia, yeah, or Ukraine, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I would love to go there, but I don't think it's ever going to be in my budget to actually go and attend. But yeah, that would be an amazing place to go. My issue with that one would be the health risk.
Well, you would have thought, I agree with you, but you would have thought that the group in question, I'm sure they have, would have done some background checks as to what to do. Because, obviously, when we book a holiday to Spain or to Greece or to Italy, we look on various websites and we look for the best place, cheapest place, or price, what we like, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there's all these, was it atoll protected and apt protected?
Mm-hmm.
Something
yeah,
like
I think
that.
that's
So that
something like
protects the consumer from some things going if the company goes bust, a bit like Monarch did a few weeks back.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So you would have thought that although the thrill of going to Chernobyl and that kind of thing is appealing to a lot. I think you need to do a bit of research on the company in question, and see what research they've done. To be fair,
Yeah.
I would also research the location for yourself as well, because my understanding is, in particular with Chernobyl, that you're okay if you spend like 2 hours there, but any longer, you are then at risk because of the radiation levels that are still there. And my understanding with this particular company is you actually sign a waiver, which basically exonerates them from any comeback in regard to future health problems. Right. And if you're not fully aware of, do your own research on that particular, on any location, do your own research would be my advice, and actually find out for yourself before you sign something like a waiver, because the last thing you want is future problems for radiation sickness.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree on that one. And also, aside from that, it's the finance side as well, because I'm not a big believer in companies who say non-refundable deposits. Especially for abroad, when you're paying like £150 for a deposit for a trip that costs, I don't know, £500. Is the refund covered if the event doesn't happen, or have you lost that money completely? It's all about, as I say, doing your homework, doing your research.
Yeah.
You may love this company to bits. You may think they're the best company since sliced bread, and they may do lots of great UK events. But I think there's a massive step up from UK to going abroad, a massive step up, and a lot more I's to dot and T's to cross.
Absolutely, and insurance-wise as well. I mean,
insurance-wise. Yes.
Again, there was another team that claimed that they're going to that island in Italy. Is it?
Yeah. I know what you mean. I know you
Island or something.
Paviglia. Yeah. The island of
I can never pronounce it properly.
I'm the same, mate. I'm the same. Just say Italy.
Yeah. But
I spent all week when Penny did the show on that. I spent all week messing that name up.
I mean,
but
again, it looks a fantastic location. It's a fantastic location. But again, I think you've got to, you're putting your hard-earned cash in somebody's pocket, and you don't know what's not been booked and what doesn't need to happen. So, be wise, ask questions. Do not be afraid to ask. Can I see the hotel booking? Can I see the airline ticket?
Yeah. I must admit, I did that to the company that's going to Chernobyl. And they replied and said, yeah, the trip is totally safe. We've looked at it. They gave me all the scientific jargon and stuff. And they said, you get more radiation on the actual aeroplane flying there than you will. Yeah. So, I mean, I did actually question that. And I was like, because I am genuinely interested.
Yeah,
I would love to go there.
We're not here to have a go at trips.
Oh no, definitely not.
Because if they work, I think they can be fantastic. Yeah. I know Haunted Happenings, Hazel do a lot of trips to Transylvania and Romania, and I believe everyone thinks they're brilliant. And and I'm sure knowing Hazel as I know Hazel, everything will be virtually done to a T, to the letter.
Absolutely.
So I think
I'm actually trying to get Hazel onto the show.
Yeah, she'd be great. Honestly, she'd be great. But I think if as a consumer, I know that if I'm going abroad, and you can't. Things happen, and everything. That's why you pay insurance. But I would want to be known that I can get refund monies back, replacement hotels. So I think the company running the event has to do a lot of research and do a lot of make sure everything's there before they start advertising the locations. To be fair.
Totally, and I think most reputable companies out there would already have their terms and conditions on their website anyway.
Yes.
So it should be quite easy for you to find.
Yeah, I'm always, I'm obviously there's hundreds of companies now out there, that Paul and Kerry. I'm always a bit wary of. I'm not wary, but that's the wrong word. When I see paranormal events companies that've got no contact number, you've got no address. It's a bit, you're emailing, bouncing up and down emails all the time. You're not actually speaking to somebody. It's always via email or via messenger, that kind of thing. So, it's, I would ask for a phone number. I'd ask for someone to speak to over the phone, that kind of thing. Just little things that I think I need to do. And I would have thought that the public would obviously think, I understand why you want somebody at the end of the phone rather than just a message saying,
Absolutely. I do think somewhere out there is a office phone number for my company. I tend to don't like talking on the telephone that much. But if my number was asked for, then they'd get my number. I've got enough to hide.
It's like, Again, there's like the sole traders and there's limited companies. You know that. Sole traders, that's fine. You still have to register with HMRC.
Yeah.
I do worry that a lot of paranormal companies, because they don't think they're making money or making a profit, do not have to register with HMRC, and they do. They do have to register. Whether you make a penny loss on every event, you still have to register. And
Absolutely.
you still have to do tax returns. So, it's all it's wider than just a trip abroad. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's a bugbear of mine that I love events. I mean, I love the fact that public can go on events all over the country now, and I think it's about time that happened, and it is happening. But I just wish that a lot of companies would just think, we're not making any money. We don't need to be. We just have to advertise it. And basically, the location charges £300. We'll sell tickets, so we make £300, make no money, and that's it. We can go on to the next event. So, I reckon that a lot of companies are doing that.
Yeah, I mean, when we initially set up, we said, between the partners, okay, we've all made mistakes in the past.
Oh yeah, definitely.
There's not a paranormal team out there that hasn't.
No, I agree.
But we want everything to be above the book. And even if something isn't legal, we want to do it to reassure people that we are doing the right thing. And most of my team are CRB checked. It's not a legal requirement, but I personally like them to have a CRB check. We've registered with the HMRC. For a period of a couple of years, we was a limited company, but you have to pay out for that.
Yes,
and that was just a drain on our pocket, so we went back to a partnership company, so we don't have to be registered with everyone needs to be registered with the HMRC. But
I agree.
Business house.
Even if you're a sole trader, even if you're a one-man band doing events off your own back, you have to be registered. Yeah, I agree.
I think it was the business house.
Yes, company's house. Yeah,
it's only the limited companies that get registered there. I think if you're a sole trader or a partnership, you don't have to be registered with them.
No, you don't have to register company's house, but you need to be registered with HMRC. If you know what I mean.
Absolutely. No, everyone's. I totally agree. So every company out there should be registered with someone.
Yes.
So definite, and you should be able to find information about that. I mean, even as you said, go up to the company themselves and to say, have you got your insurance? Are you registered with the HMRC?
And if they're prepared, if they're not going to show you, then that automatically says, well, that would trigger alarm bells in my head saying, why can't you show me your insurance? Why can't you show me your certificate of liability? That kind of thing. Why can't this Paveglia thing in Italy? Apparently, you have to get there's two ways to do it. You can go to the Italian government and get a license to run a tour on the island, which is the official way. But there's also the unofficial way of going to Italy, driving down to the island and getting a boat across from a boatsman. I would rather know that the company who is running the event has taken the time to speak to the government, and whether it take 4 months, 6 months, or 10 months to get the actually approval of government authority, rather than just turn up at this quayside and get a boat across. But,
exactly, it could end up being quite a long investigation event, like 25 years inside. So you've got the investigation and the time you was arrested, and the trespass. 25 years in in an Italian jail.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, when they go shopping, they can see the food and they can see the goods at the Tesco, Lidl, Marks and Sparks, wherever you shop.
Yeah.
With paranormal teams, obviously all you're doing is selling a location that people cannot see. They can read about the what's happened there and past events, but you cannot physically go into that location and see it before you try it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's I would have thought it makes sense for the company in question who are selling the tickets to be as open and as compliant as possible to the consumer.
Absolutely. And if they are supplying these holidays, then maybe is there anything that they've got to register with as a holiday provider?
That's something it's a good question. I don't know myself, but you would have thought that obviously if they're booking a job, let's say 10 people go on an event to X paranormal company, do that company then book a block booking of airline tickets under individual names, or do they book under their company? Do the hotel that they're booking in abroad, do they book individually? It's a minefield, and I don't run an events company, and if I did, I don't think I'd really do broad locations unless it was something that I was asked to do. I think it is a minefield, and I know why there's probably only a small percentage of companies that actually do them.
Yeah, I have been approached and asked to do them myself, but looking into it is a lot of hard work and it is a big risk. As you said, with like the airfares, and how do you go about booking that? Because most companies out there won't have the budget to go, right, okay, well, we want that aeroplane. We've got enough money to cover the cost of 30 seats, for example. Exactly, so we'll book 30 seats. So it is a bit of a risk on how you do it. And I'm just trying to figure that out at the moment.
But I'd never stop any company doing it. But what I'm saying is that I think it's a risk. Like you say, it's a risk, and it's a hell of a lot of work. I hope that all events go well, and you don't ever have any sad stories and sob stories coming out of it. You just hope that the research has been done by the company in question, and want to do it for the right reasons. Yes, to make some money, because that's not a problem. If you're a business, that's your job to make money, but to also give the customers who have booked at the time of their life.
Yeah, that's it. Just sort of give them what you promised them, at least.
Exactly.
With me, for example, I want to start small. I don't want to do the risk where we're taking people to America and Australia and
no. The paranormal, same with the magazine. To be fair, we always said at the start, it's baby steps.
Yeah.
You have to crawl before you can walk before you can run. and you can't go. You can aim high, and it's always good to aim high.
Absolutely.
But you start off at the bottom of the ladder, and with hard work and tenacity, and you work yourself up. A lot of groups, I think, groups tend to go on events and think, oh, we can do this.
Yeah.
We like doing this, and then they start to form their own team and think, well, and then they realise that locations are charging a lot of money to go. So rather than them having to fork out money, say, well, you know what, we can do this. We can form an events company, take some other people with us, and make the cost smaller. Do you know what I mean, per person?
Yeah.
And I think that's where, and a lot of groups splinter and form other groups. I would love to do it. There's a book years ago called Rock Family Trees, which was like rock bands, and who was in this band, who was in that band. I would love to do a paranormal family tree, because I reckon there's so many branches. This person worked there, and then they fell out with that person, and that person went there. It could be like a menagerie of trees everywhere.
Yeah, we could do like Jeremy Kyle's show as well.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And the lie detector test says.
Well, absolutely. There's so much backstabbing going on. Lie detector test wouldn't be so bad. But no, going back to the trips abroad, I mean, with Trident, for example, we've got to the point now where we've got 4 teams.
Yeah.
Across the country. And our newest one's up in Yorkshire. So we're at the moment concentrating on getting that up and running. But once that's done, and I know that they're happy with their events, I can then sit back and go, right, okay, well, let's start looking at abroad, or maybe going to Scotland first of all. I know it's not abroad, but it's a different country and all that, but it's still the same principle as going to France, for example. With the coach. It is with the coach.
No, it's not.
It is, because you've got to arrange the coaches, you've got to sort out the tickets, you've got to sort out the location. So it's all that sort of stuff. So if we can master that, then next step probably be Ireland, because of the history and stuff over there.
I think you got to look. I think you got to look at your market and see what if your customers are happy just going to 3 or 4 locations, and you're selling out and you're enjoying it, then you look at the next step. If somebody says, I'd love to go to Ireland, then maybe you shout out, oh, let's do a shout out and see who's interested. If it's 10, 12, 15, 20, it's like the magazine. When we decided to go back into print, we thought, well, we're not going to print 5,000 because we'd end up with 4,000 being pulped. Yeah. So we asked around who was interested, and they said, yeah, well, I think I'd be tempted to buy a copy if it was in print. So we printed 500 just because we could have, we looked at the costs. We thought that's reasonable. If we sell, half of those, 300 of those, then we're break even. So it was a risk, but it's worked. And I mean, it's like, I don't want to think, oh yeah, we'll sell 5,000 now, because we'll probably print 500 again, because. It sells 450 copies, and we're happy. That it's free online, but it's a niche market for a print magazine, and it's not like just 10 are being sold. It's selling, so we know it works. Yeah. But to go to the next step, to sell 1,000 or 1,250 or 1,500, it requires a lot of work, and maybe if the demand increases, then who knows? But at the minute, we're happy with our lot, so to speak. So. I think it's the same for event companies. If you're happy with what you're doing, stick to it. But if you really think you can do this, then do it. But as we've mentioned before, do a hell of a lot of research.
Absolutely, it's not just a case of just going over there and doing the event and coming home again like it is.
I hope not. I hope that's not. Yeah. I know. I would hope that. I'm sure paranormal companies realise that their customer is king and queen, and they have to be treated like royalty as such, and everything has to be there for them. If they've got a problem, whether it's minuscule or whether it's big, you have to deal with it and sort it out.
Yeah.
Well, an interesting idea has come up in the chat room, which is, couldn't a paranormal events company subcontract out to like a professional travel company? Who have the skills and expertise to do all the admin, travel, hotels, etc., etc.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. It might cost a lot more than what they probably want to charge the customer. But yeah, I think that's a great idea, Kerry. I really do. Somebody who's experienced at taking people abroad, knows the paperwork side of it that needs to be done. Yeah, totally agree. That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
It wasn't mine. It was in the chat room. That was Richard.
It's certainly,
come up with
certainly
that one.
something to look into anyway. Yeah, definitely.
Particularly if you do a niche one, because I know Richard himself is actually quite into battlefields, and he says that the battlefield tours are like really big, for example, and they do it through a tour company rather than trying to do it as individual, like little companies, as it were.
I think I understand. I think that's a great idea, and also it all makes it looks professional. It will obviously be a bit more dearer than running it yourself. And sometimes I think the paranormal events companies are trying to chip away at each other and are trying to be cheaper. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's that price battle.
Yeah, you do £40, we'll do £39. And then, so people search, £39. It's £1, but it's cheaper. Then it'll be $34.99, and it comes down. So, a £35 hunt, it may seem good, but again, you have to weigh up all the odds. A £50 hunt might be twice as better, but you just don't know. Until we've all got our favourites, we've all got a circle of trust and people who we go with, so it's I don't know what the answer is to but Richard in the chat room, that could be a really good answer actually to look into, to be honest.
And also, if you go with a larger company, you'd have a bigger reach in regards to advertising, because they'd be doing advertising for it too.
Yeah.
Which you can't afford necessarily as a smaller company.
I think you've got to look into it and you got to think, what do you want? Do you want to make money and charge as much as possible and get away with it, or do you want to do it properly and professionally and have a fantastic time, your team, your customers, and just get great reviews coming back from the location, and making a few pounds here and there, or making nothing at all, but knowing that you've done it, and you've seen a location that not many people have in the UK.
Yeah, that's what it's pretty much all about, really, getting out there and experiencing other places.
Well, I think, sorry to interrupt, do you think the risk is bigger going to like a location abroad in Europe to what it would possibly be if you went to somewhere like America?
Good. I mean, obviously the location, the distance, and the time it takes to get there would be greater. So you have to spend probably more time out there. I don't think you can do a 3-day trip.
Oh gosh, no! You're talking if you was on holiday, for example, in America.
Yes.
There's plenty of teams. I mean, we know a lot of teams in America who are out investigating. There doesn't seem to be the risk factor that there seems to be in Europe.
No.
In regards to the organisational side of it.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's something that, again, I mean, it's. I mean, I only know what 3 or 4 companies who have taken UK people abroad, and I guess in America, like you said, it's massive, and we think of having let's say 500 paranormal teams in the UK. If there's 1,000 teams in America, they're still probably miles away from each other because it's so big.
So true.
There's not so much competition. Like Michigan might have 2 or 3, whereas Nottingham might have 10. So companies. So I don't think the competition is as fierce in America. I could be completely wrong.
I think as well, with teams in America in particular, they're more serious about their investigations. They do a lot more spiritual stuff, and they claim they work with demons and all that sort of stuff going on. But they will attend an investigation all tooled up. It's, like the Ghostbusters. There's sort of that mentality to it, I think.
Well, yeah, they love the gadgets, don't they? They love the gadgets. And I never try and compare TV to paranormal non-TV, because it's completely different. But a lot of watching Paranormal Lockdown and Tennessee Wraith Chasers, a lot of ghosts and a lot of history seems to come from the Civil War, from the American Civil War. It was a massive battle all over America, not just in certain parts, the north, the west, the east, the south. It was all over. So there's a lot of bloodshed. And let's not forget, as a country, we are thousands of years old. They're just 250 years old, that kind of thing. So there's that. We've got more history. We've got potentially more ghosts. And so, I reckon that American and English are so different. It's unreal. In the way that we operate, the way that we do things. We've got the common interest in the paranormal. We love it. But watching UK shows and watching US shows, if I compare them for like to like, they are so different.
They are. Again, another difference, as you said, one county would possibly have 2 or 3 teams. And if you wanted to join a team over there, it'd be like, oh, go to these people, they're the nearest one. So then you approach them. But over here, it's more a case of, I want to join a paranormal team. There's no one else around I like, or I don't know anyone. Let's set my own one up.
No, exactly. And I've always said, that you don't need to have a degree in parapsychology or 20 years experience with digital camera to set up a team. You know, you have to have a bit of nous, a bit of common sense. But anybody can set up a team, because at the end of the day, you're investigating something that might not be true. So you don't need to have a degree in something to investigate something that might not even be there.
No, exactly.
So it's just, I think it's just because we're so small and the love of the paranormal, because we're in the paranormal world and we live it daily. I think because we live and breathe it, and UK is so small, it seems to encompass our. If you're in it, you're in it. You don't just go in it and come back out for a week. You know what I mean? So you're involved in the paranormal daily. You two are, the radio shows and your events, that kind of thing. So it's something that I live. I live and breathe basically every day. Yeah,
I've got a real passion for it, and it's something that I love doing. So I'm quite happy doing what I'm doing. But
I mean, that's the other option would be if you go on holiday somewhere and you want to investigate, if you're in Europe, then just do a search and see if there's a local investigations team. If there is, approach them, see if they can take you out somewhere and investigate. Yeah. But but be aware that you're doing that under your own risk.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. I've always wondered if, obviously, living in England, you see English stories, English teams. I always wondered if the passion for the paranormal is like it is in Italy or France. I wonder if there's this bubble that we're all living, and the Italian paranormal teams are all having a go at each other, and they're trying to grab events left, right, and centre, or they're a bit more laid back and they're not as that they're not as bothered about events, or they want to investigate private. But obviously not being in that country, you don't know, do you? So
no, exactly. I mean, I dare say that there is some, because you get it in no matter what sector that you work in. There's always that bitchiness that goes on.
There is, yeah.
But in particular America. I mean, I keep going on about Americans, but they're the ones I know about the most. They're so, or they work with each other. That's the difference between them and us. They will work with each other, and they will have the paracons, and they all know each other, if that makes sense. It is a big paranormal community, and I think that's sort of the way that we should go. But because so many people like to just set up their own teams and think they're better than everyone else, and they become experts. That's where the issues are lying. I think there's some pretty big egos in the UK.
There is plenty of egos. I think a lot of people have got to, whether you come from another group, you've got to sort of like earn your corn in the paranormal. Do you know what I mean? You've got to. You can't come in saying we're the best, we're the most honest group, and that kind of thing. And try, obviously, marketing's free these days on social media, so anybody can market themselves as the best, that kind of thing. But you've got to earn respect. You've got to earn,
indeed.
You've got to earn the trust from some people. you've got to get out there, and whether you're a loudmouth or opinionated, you've got to have an opinion about things. Not, you've got to earn your respect, and you've got to work hard. And whether you start from scratch or whether you've got a team and you've got locations in place, you've still got to do the hard work. It's not easy running an events company. A lot of people think, it's easy. We can do this, but it's not. I don't envy you at all. I mean, sometimes the magazine's hard, but I guess it's nowhere as hard as we're just at the end of the day, we're just printing and publishing something, writing something, sticking it in an envelope, and then it goes to whoever buys the magazine. You've got to sell the event, you've got to run the event, you've got to make sure the money's there, the food's there, and make sure if people don't, people cancel on the last minute, that kind of thing. So, there's a lot of minefields in the minefield, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it is a big risk, but again, it's something that I've got the passion for. So I'm quite happy putting these events on, going out there. The best part of the event for me is just before the public turn up, and you've got the whole museum or the castle to yourself, and just to soak yourself in that atmosphere is just phenomenal. I love it.
I mean,
that's what I do it for.
The beauty of these, as I've said many times, the beauty of these events and you guys who run events is that it's opened up so many doors to castles and inns and houses than ever before. It's 10 years ago it was like Bournemouth Morecambe Winter Gardens, or a few asylums and galleries of justice, that kind of thing. But it's not. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's anywhere. There's locations popping up left, right, and centre, and that can only be a good thing, because no one has the right to say ghosts just haunt castles and coaching inns. That's because there's a history. We've got 1,000-year history. And there's a potential that my kitchen can be haunted. You know what I mean? So anywhere can be haunted. But no, I think it's great the public can get access to these wonderful historic buildings.
Yeah, it's quite amazing, really. And on that note, we'll just have a quick break, and then we'll be back very shortly.
Okay. Hello, Harry Price here. Good evening. If there's nothing myself and everybody else enjoy here on the other side more is the sit back and relax and listen to Parasearch Radio with its paranormal news, views and reviews from across the UK and beyond. Make sure to find out more about them on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web, whatever they are, to keep up to date with all their broadcasts throughout the week. And I hope you enjoy them as much as we do over here. Hello? Is anybody there?
And welcome back. We've been talking to Paul Stevenson in regards to paranormal events abroad. Has there been any other questions or anything in the chat room, Kerry?
No, there's they're talking about all sorts of things, as in, going back to what we were talking about, is reaching out to a speciality company that does tours as a job, as it were, and then they're going on to investigating in Europe. It tends to mainly be the English-speaking countries, but it's not as big as it is either like in America or the UK. Places like France, Germany, virtually unheard of. And to be fair, from my understanding, I mean, we get to talk to an awful lot of people, don't we, Paul, through the radio?
Yeah.
And how often do we get approached by, or do we find somebody that's in Europe?
Hardly ever, to be fair.
Apart from Gert.
I was going to say Gert, yeah. That's the only person I've known from that.
In Europe. And obviously Elizabeth as well, Elizabeth Coates. But
and as for passion, Gert's got passion enough for everybody.
Well, he has for the whole of Europe, all by himself, bless him. But other than that, I haven't really come across, I'm not saying they're not out there, but I haven't really come across investigation teams or people from Europe. I come across plenty in America, Australia as well. I know quite a few people in Australia. But other than that, I know one company that runs out of India, and then I don't know many in regard to other countries. No,
and they've got such a land mass as well. It might just be a case of that they're overlooked.
Could be.
Possibly, yeah. It could be that they're sort of like little islands of paranormal investigation teams that haven't sort of like connected with the rest of the para community across the globe. I don't know. But it does seem strange. I mean, like particularly in the situation that we're in regards to radio. I mean, we keep our ear quite firmly on the paranormal ground for various things. And we don't seem to come across a lot of people involved in the paranormal in Europe. And we want to hear from them because there are some, like we've said before, there are some amazing locations in Europe.
Yeah. There are some places in Europe, and I know in particular, going up to Russia, there's people in Russia that are more into the cryptozoology side of the paranormal. So, okay, they might not be interested in ghosts, but they might be a little bit more interested in something else with the paranormal. I mean, UFOs are worldwide phenomena.
Oh, yeah, it's massive. UFOs are massive.
Yeah, you're going to find a UFOologist in Europe. I do actually know one that lives in France, but that's only because he moved there from here.
I'm wondering if it's down to, the belief system set up, through the education belief system set up.
It could be because, you mentioned that the paranormal's full of, it's not all about ghosts, it's obviously cryptozoology, monsters, that, UFOs, aliens, Bigfoot, that kind of thing. So perhaps in the UK we tend to, although we think it's a wide subject, a lot of the areas is concentrated on hauntings and ghosts and that kind of thing, whereas abroad it might be more cryptozoo, it might be more UFO based, and it's not, and because it's not centered around haunted, the paranormal ghosts and things that go bump in the night, it's more sporadic, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. I mean, if it was to stereotypical person like the countries, you've got the UK where we've got a bit of everything. Cryptozoology, not so much, because it all tends to be big cats in this country. But then you go to America and they're more heavily involved with demons.
Yeah.
And they like the UFOs and abductions and stuff like that over there. They've got quite a few cases of cryptozoology stuff over there as well. Russia, it all tends to be cryptozoology stuff. And then going down into Australia, I mean, I don't really know much about that country, to be fair.
Well, I think, it'd be interesting to know if, like Transylvanian Castle and Castle Dracula and Paveglia, be interested, the catacombs in France, it'd be interesting to know if it's just the English and the Americans who visit them. Be interesting to know if the Italians or the French or the, visit Paveglia, or it's just an island with lots of dolls, you know what I mean? So, kind of thing. So they don't see it as anything that it's been there with them. It's been with them since they can remember, so they don't see it as anything different, whereas we see it as, wow, this looks amazing. So perhaps it is a belief system, perhaps it's a culture thing. I know when the magazines, most of our downloads are UK, Canada, Australia, America. So that explains, that answers sort of like equals what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're talking about paranormal locations abroad. We've got lots, we know that, but there are some fantastic ones. I mean, Alcatraz prison, I'd love to go to Alcatraz, just to, not so much maybe do an investigation, but just to be there, just to feel the history, the history
I've looked into that one. They won't let us do an overnight thing because it's a protected island.
Right, you're right.
And they're quite happy for you to do stuff up to midnight, I think it was.
Right.
But after that, you had to swim to the shore.
Swim. I mean, Ghost Chasers with Paul Hobday, Chris Howley, Ian Lawman. Yeah, those guys, they did Europe. They did some locations in Europe as well, didn't they?
Did they?
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, they did some in the UK and then they went over. They did some completely unknown like famous, I suppose, unfamous locations, and they got some amazing results.
Oh, but maybe things are changing, because obviously there's a new, I think Really TV have commissioned a show called Help My House is Haunted.
Yeah, that's with Barry Guy.
Barry Guy from the UK, a French lady, Sandy Lakdar, and an American. So
Chris Fleming.
Maybe things are changing. Maybe we are going to become multicultural eventually, and it won't just be UK teams. It'll be a mixed team, that kind of thing. And by being mixed, you get access to different locations. I don't know, but like you said with Ian Lawman and Paul and Chris, they went abroad. So and what better way to promote a location than to be on TV? So
and you've got to go international as well.
Exactly. So I think I've always said, I said it in 2010 that the paranormal to me is we're just scratching the iceberg. I think there's so much more that we probably will never find out, and there's still so much more to come that we will find out and we'll be intrigued by. So, and of course, every 9-10 years a different generation pops up, and people who are now teenagers, 15, 16, 17 years old, they want to get involved in it. So. So it's. I mean, my kids are 10 and they watch it on CBBC. They watch Young Dracula and Wolfhound and that kind of thing and ghost stories, and they love it. So it's in 10 years' time they'll probably want to go ghost hunting. So
my godsons already love it, and they already go out on their own ghost hunts because we obviously they're too young to come out on the events and stuff side of it.
Yeah.
But if we bored one night, we might go down to the local churchyard. And they come with us. They love it. And my godsons are like 11 and 12.
Yeah. I think, I think times are changing. I think I'm not ridiculing paranormal by saying it's becoming more entertainment based, but it's not becoming, there are serious paranormal investigators out there still trying to research whether it's true or not, but it's moving towards a fun side. I don't mean fake or stage, but it's moving towards having a laugh, having some fun, seeing if ghosts are real, being scared, that kind of thing. So, that's how I see it anyway. That's how I view the paranormal in 5 or 10 years' time. Yes, it's research. There'll be lots of people researching things still, but it will be more groups, more entertainment, more fun, and I think it'll just grow and grow and grow from that.
Well, that's it. I mean, there is sort of that fun element in ghost hunting, but I still think that the science and the serious stuff is still an important part of it.
It's important, Paul, but I still don't think they'll prove anything. I really don't.
Not yet. Not for a long time. We've been trying
for years. I mean, we've been trying for years. I mean, we're doing a feature on the Ghost Club with Charles Dickens and Arthur Conan Doyle, that kind of people. And I guess in them days it was more selected. It wasn't Joe Public who could join the Ghost Club. It was well-known, respected, eminent people. And they try to prove that ghosts are real and or not. But yes, there's more technology these days. There's more science these days. I agree, but I still think that in 50 years' time, if we're alive, we'll still be talking about the same thing.
Probably.
So,
I think it is becoming more of a thing to go abroad and do abroad investigations. I mean, you've only got to look at Sage Paracon. They're doing a cruise, aren't they, soon? Next year, I think that is.
I've already got the price list.
And if anybody can pull that off and make it an absolutely awesome event, then that's MJ.
Well, yeah, I mean, if there's a market for it, then somebody will do it. I've always, entrepreneur is not just a business in whatever. Paranormal is a business, in my opinion. So there's going to be entrepreneurs in this business. And if there's a market for it, somebody should go in and do it. Because if you don't get done, then you'll never know if it works or not. So if people want to go and somebody's willing to do it, then by all means, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
A themed cruise, visiting or doing whatever, I think it's a wonderful idea.
That's it. Talking about the locations and stuff on the cruise, and then actually going to visit them. That'd be even better.
Yeah.
Just for a visit rather than investigation.
It's like a paranormal convention with investigations along the way.
Yeah.
From what I understand.
I mean, and if MJ's listening, I'm available to guest speak anytime. Just putting it out there.
I think she's after bigger names than us, mate.
Celebrities of the future. What can I say?
I just think whatever way it goes, there are some amazing locations across the globe that people would love to do. And if you get somebody who's a reputable company, who knows what they're doing, who knows all the paperwork and insurance and visas and, all the law side of it, then go for it. Do it.
Yeah, I agree. And if you approach them and they look into it and say, "Oh, we don't want to do it," then that tells you something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That says, it is hard to do, because if they don't want to do it, then that shows how bloody hard it's going to be. Absolutely,
and they might also have extra insurances that they might need.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, for example, our company is only insured to work in this country at the moment. But I would need to extend that to cover Europe and other countries. So that, definitely ask questions, go for it. And if they're willing to share the information, then I'd say that they're pretty good company.
I would actually say that they probably wouldn't need to ask. If it was a reputable company, it's probably all laid out in your package for the event itself anyway.
Yeah, but they still might not be willing to put in. Maybe they left out some information, for example. If they're doing like a welcome pack, for example, they might leave out the fact that they've had to get a license to go across this particular field or castle or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
So if they have left information out or whatever, and you definitely approach them and ask them. I mean, if they are genuine, then they will share whatever information they've got.
That's true. I mean, when we did Epping Forest, we needed a visa. It wasn't a visa, was it? It was a license to actually enter the forest at night from the Forestry Commission, which we had at Trident. We had it as a company. Now, we didn't sort of like say that, but we had it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So if anybody had asked, we could produce it.
That's it.
Do you know what I mean? But it wasn't necessarily something we would have shared it, and we've got the insurance set up as well. We wouldn't necessarily share that information in the information pack, but if anybody had asked, we had it.
It is a legal requirement that when you go to a place of work or an office or something, they must display the insurance document. But because obviously we're on locations, it's not necessarily easy to post it up on the wall, pin it to the wall or whatever.
Exactly.
So they will still have that document in a folder somewhere.
That's what I'm saying.
All you need to do is ask it, and they should be able to provide it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We had it, we just didn't put it out in their welcome pack.
Like I said, cross the I's, cross the T's, dot the I's. But you don't have to tell them you've done that. If people ask for it, you are then prepared to say, here it is, that kind of thing. Don't ask for it, you've still got it. So I agree, totally. I agree.
And it's the same thing for abroad as well. So, I mean, just because they don't say they've got insurance or licenses and stuff, don't assume that they have. Just ask.
Yeah, I mean, things do happen. British Airways, Virgin Holidays, things do go wrong. You watch holiday shows, and sometimes, they have to admit they make mistakes. So it's not just if a paranormal company does make a mistake, let's turn it around. If a trip goes fantastically well, but something happens, the company should not be tarred with that brush, because it might not be their fault.
No.
But if you've done all the groundwork and you've done all the research and you've got everything crossed and dotted and everything, then you can hold your head high and say that you've done the best that you can. If things happen that aren't your fault, you can't control that. But it's best to be as prepared as possible.
Yeah.
But that's another reason in particular that I wanted to start small. So, the events in this country, we've got them pretty sorted. I'm quite happy with the way they run. So because Scotland's a little bit further, I'd test the waters by doing a Scottish event and then over to Ireland. And then, just see whether or not there is any problems that I need to address. Or if I need to change it. Exactly. I mean, I'd rather something go wrong in Ireland where I can correct it before going to, say, for example, Dracula's Castle.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Yeah. There'll be teams out there thinking, I don't want to go abroad. I'm happy with my lot. So, and then we're fine doing what we do. And then that's where it comes when the team members get more excited and they branch out and move on. This is where all the split all comes from. Yeah. Because if the boss person's happy doing that, and then other people get itchy feet and want to move on. So this is the way it's all imploded from the groups. But if people want to advance and go abroad, fine. But if people don't want to do it, don't feel like you have to be competitive in this market.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
No, there's a lot of stuff around here that is worth doing.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams have thought, odds happenings, they're going to Transylvania, they're going to this, that, and other. We've got to do it to compete, but you haven't got to do it to compete. To compete, you got to be the best that you can be. Absolutely. That's all you can do.
Yes, I agree with that. Whether it's small or big, you've got to be the best you can be. Yeah. Exactly. And whatever field that's in, at the level that you're at. Then when you're ready, you take the next step. Exactly. And that's incredibly important. I agree.
So when we do our events, we always have a sheet of paper at the end of the welcome pack that says, "Have you got any comments? Good or bad, doesn't matter what they are. We'll listen to everybody. Yeah. And if there was a problem raised at that event, we'll rectify it so it doesn't happen again at another event. So no event is ever going to be the same." And we're always learning from the customers. We're taking on board what they say to try and be the best.
I totally agree. Because you've got to have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E. Because you turn up at Romania, the bus hasn't arrived. You've got to know the second number of the second bus company that you can use. You've got to have plans in place because you're not in Nottingham, you're not in Manchester anymore. You're 2,000 miles away, so you've got to be prepared. For a thing goes wrong in Manchester, it can be easily rectified. If it goes wrong in Castle Brand, then you need to have a bit more nous and a bit more a few more plans in place. Something happened basically.
Yeah, I mean, when we was listening to Joe Chin and Barry Fitzgerald talk about Ghost Hunters International, a lot of the locations were not particularly accessible either. The road systems and the transport. I mean, the drivers. I mean, do you remember some of the stories they were talking about, Paul?
It was hilarious.
It made it hysterical. Don't get me wrong. It was great for a great talk. Can you imagine taking the public on that kind of situation, though? They're having kittens.
I think if I ever done that event, I'd want Joe Chin coming with me.
I think you're right.
Because even if we didn't make it to the event, he would keep everyone entertained.
Yeah, he would. But you can imagine, like, some of the dirt tracks, they're really bad. I mean, we're not... Yeah. The UK is phenomenal compared to some of the road systems abroad. And the drivers abroad are absolutely horrendous too. You can imagine, those kind of factors you have to take into consideration, particularly with some of the locations that you're going to be trying to access abroad. And it's those sort of things that you have to keep in mind as well.
Yeah.
There's lots
out there now.
Yeah, lots of potholes, but if you can work hard as a team, and if it's something that you want as a team, then look into it, go for it, do it. As we said before, you don't have to be. You have to compete with the biggest to be the biggest. You can be happy with in your lot being what you're being. You know what I mean? So
that's it. And there's a lot of teams out there that claim to be non-profit. So they might as well go for it if they want to do it.
Exactly.
But I'd still say start small.
You've got to do baby steps, all the time. Baby steps. You've got to. It's anything. Any business. You go to a bank for business advice, set up. And it's a startup company. They'll tell you start small. Aim high, start small. It's just common sense,
Absolutely.
To me,
It makes sense to me as well, and that's the way we've always been. Yeah. So, but on that note, we've come up to the end of the show.
Seriously, that's gone fast.
Yeah, it does, don't it?
Yeah, we got about 30 seconds, but I'll tend to go over anyway. So, never mind. I'll blame Kerry.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So what's happening on the show next week then, Kerry?
Oh gosh, what's happening next week?
I thought you'd have that planned.
Trusty diary. It's the 24th next week, isn't it?
Yes, and I'm not actually going to be here.
No, you're not. I'm taking over the Paranormal Concept show next week because he's having a little break. And I have got Carl Hutchinson and Ashley Nibbs joining me in the studio. Nibbs, sorry. I keep saying Nibbs. He keeps telling me off. And we're talking about EVPs.
Nice one.
So we're doing that next week on the show, so that'll be good.
The thing is, right, I know you've got a few seconds left, but the paranormal is so diverse, you'll never run out of subjects, will you? You know what I mean? So you'll never have to worry about what subject to talk about. There'll always be something there to have a discussion with.
No, we do it. We do shows every night, and every night is different, and we never have a trouble picking topics or finding people, or it's great. Don't forget, guys. Tomorrow night is the Haunted History Show. That's at Bodmin Jail. Looking forward to that one. Then we've got the KTPF on Thursday. That's a reload show, and that's a David Farrant show. Then on Friday, oh God, Mark has chosen the subject for Friday, so I'm divulging responsibility on this one.
Oh, what is it?
Eastern and Japanese paranormal stories.
Wow.
Ghost stories.
Okay,
yeah. I know.
Good,
well, yeah, it should be good, or we'll see.
Haven't they got that woods out there, like Suicide Woods or whatever they call it?
Don't even know. I'm not doing the research for it. Mark and Kaz are in charge of that little one. Okay. I'm like trying to remember. I don't know anything about this subject, guys. And then on Sunday, we've got the birthday party.
Yeah, I'm going.
Parasearch's birthday party. We'll be 1 year old on Saturday.
Wow.
I know. So we're having a little party. So I'd like you all to join us for a pop-up paranormal party show.
Nice
and then on the Sunday, the Spirit Dimension is talking to a lovely lady called Kat Wilson about working and creating energy tools with crystals. So, So that's what we've got lined up for the rest of the week as well.
So that's our first show of our second year.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That'd be fantastic. Anyway.
Yes, anyway.
Because of that, we've now run over.
Yeah. Well, I said we'd go over, it's fine. Thank you, Paul, for joining me tonight. It's been
pleasure as always.
Pleasure
as always. Thank you.
Fantastic.
For inviting me.
No problem. We'll do it. We'll do another show with you again at some point.
Great, cheers, thank you.
I want to thank Kerry for being my wonderful co-host again.
Always a pleasure.
It's great fun. And I want to thank everyone that's been in the chat room tonight and had your say. It's been fantastic as always. And on that note, I shall hopefully see you all again when I'm back, whenever that is, in 2 weeks' time. But Kerry will be running the show next week, so be back for next week. See you all later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.